What's up? Hey, hello, everyone. Wow. So today we are back going to be talking about Survivor Season 35, Episode 9 with a happy belated Thanksgiving. So my name is Rachel.
I'm Alyssa, and this is really weird because normally when we do our podcast, I'm like pretty sleep deprived, but I've actually been sleeping like 12 hours a night since it's Thanksgiving break and I don't have homework to do. And so it's like, how do you function when you actually have the correct amount of sleep? I'm really confused.
Yeah, and with a great Survivor episode this week, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was super hype. I was like talking to myself during it, and I would have liked to see a lit idol play at the end, but I think this is what needed to happen in order for hopefully the 7 to split next week with a double episode, which is also very, very exciting. I cannot wait.
Yeah, I'm really excited because it seems like the preview for next episode means that it's not just going to be a pagonging of the healers, which I was kind of worried about. But I think that with the double episode, the first episode will kind of set the tone for the second one. So that'll be interesting.
Yeah, I think so. I think, it'll be good. But we don't want to jump the gun on this because we haven't talked about this week's episode yet. So I guess we shall jump right into it with the reward challenge. Super interesting. The swimming looked like so much fun. Like, I wish I were a part of it. And I messaged Alyssa and I was like, I forgot JP was even on this season, basically, until Jeff read the teams like for the reward challenge, and then later in the episode when Chrissy was like, oh, blah blah blah, there's so many threats still left in the game, and then it cuts to shots of every single player but not JT, so basically he's
JP.
irrelevant. Ugh.
JP. You see, he's so irrelevant we don't even remember his name. Oh my goodness. But yeah, I feel like JP is a waste of space. Like, I feel like he's going to be one of those people where, like, if he's still around, like, Final Five, he's going to be goated to the end. Or
No,
die.
yeah, I think I wrote in my notes for like later, but I think, Joe, even though he is like pushing a lot of buttons and everything, I think Joe could still has potential to win the game if he goes to Final Tribal Council with two people like very, very not deserving to win the game. So maybe someone like JP in like a final two. I think there's no way that the round table or whatever the fuck you want to call that shit can not reward someone the win when they're going up against JP. Like, you literally cannot give JP $1 million. He has not done anything.
The thing
Like,
is, I feel like Joe is, like, pissing so many people off that even if he did go to Final Tribal, like, all of them are constantly like, oh, I hate Joe, I hate Joe. So even if he was the most deserving, I do not think that he would be, like, given the $1 million.
I think he needs to go with people that are like super bad. Like, I don't know. I feel like like fans of the game, someone like, even though Chrissy seems like she's being super annoying on the season right now, but even though I feel like her, like Ryan, they are super fans of the game, I feel like they can get over the fact that like someone like Joe is super annoying, whereas I think someone like Ashley, who seems like she's playing with more of her emotions, probably can't get over that fact and would not want to reward Joe. But I feel like someone like Mike even is like always like, even though he's trying to throw Joe under the bus, and I think it's like, oh, cute, an unlikely alliance right now between Mike and Joe. I think I feel like if you're a true fan of the game, you literally cannot be a fucking bitter jury, or else you're literally going to give $1 million to someone who does not deserve it. And I think that would just be so.
Yeah, but like with the way Chrissy was like responding to Joe in this episode, which we're gonna talk about like a little bit later, I feel like she's definitely not going to be like lining up to vote for him to win $1 million. So, but back to the reward challenge. I feel like this challenge was like okay, but also, man, I liked that it didn't have a puzzle just because puzzles are always like, why do you even bother having the beginning part of the challenge? But meh.
Yeah, I think I was surprised. I was sort of like thinking before the episode or before the reward challenge started, I was like, oh, like which team would probably win, and then like looking at who was on each team. And I was surprised Chrissy and Ashley were able to dive down, because in the other like challenge where you had to dive down and get keys last time, that they couldn't. So I was like, good for you. You can actually do something. So like, you're actually doing something on the show. And JP went straight down and didn't get any air, and I thought that was pretty cool. And that was basically the only time JP's name was even mentioned or he got any screen time this episode. And I don't know, it was a good challenge. It was super hype at the end. It was very close with the like basketball shooting at the end.
Yeah, I was surprised that Joe winning like didn't earn him any more brownie points, because like Joe was literally the reason that they won, because Ben like almost caught up, and if Joe had like shot those baskets, then yeah. But I feel like they were so intense upon like wanting to hate Joe and like, oh, Joe sucks, so they didn't really give him kudos where kudos were due.
Yeah, SMH. These people better not be bitter. I'll be so angry. Maybe that's why the season won't turn out good. But I feel like we also see Ryan telling Devin and Ben about the idol, which I think will probably bite Ryan in the ass in a few episodes. And like in general, telling people that you have the idol like builds trust between you and like the person that you tell. So it definitely built trust between Ryan and Devin, and then Ryan and Ben, until Devin talk. And I think like when you also tell someone that you have an idol, it also puts a target on your back, because Ben realizes like, oh, Ryan is out here to win the $1 million, like he's dangerous now, stuff like that. And I think Ben and Devin talking really opens Devin's eyes up to like, oh, maybe he's not Ryan's #1 right-hand man, and like, oh, don't trust Ryan. And I'm hoping Devin will make some moves, and I think Devin can go far in the game. I feel like there's a lot of people left in the game that have winner potential, and I think Devin, in the right circumstances, maybe with some people who are less deserving, he could win the game.
Yeah, I feel like Ryan didn't make a mistake in telling both Devin and Ben, but he made a mistake in not like telling both of them that he had told the other.
Yeah.
Because like I feel like that was the main thing. Like Ryan told Devin like, oh, you're the only person I told. And then Devin finds out from Ben, haha, he's not the only person Ryan told. So
yeah, I guess technically Ryan wasn't lying if he's like, oh, he told Devin about it first, so technically he hasn't told anyone else. But yeah, it's just like the way things spread, and even in like real life as well with like gossip and stuff like that, you definitely want to have all of your bases checked, because I feel like, things just spread, and you don't want to be on the backhand of like the rumors that are spreading, because like now Devin is like, okay, I'm down with you, Ben and Lauren, for a final 3, and like that sort of ruins Ryan's whole thing about trying to get like final 3 with Devin and or Ben.
Yeah, I feel like if I were Devin, I would have asked, after I had the conversation with Ben, I would have like asked Ryan, so like, have you told anyone else about this idol? Because it's like, if Ryan is willing to come clean and be like, oh yeah, I totally told Ben, then like maybe I wouldn't be as angry at him as if he was like, oh no, I haven't told anyone else, and still like let me believe that I was the special one when I knew that wasn't true.
Then you'll know Ryan's a dirty snake. And yeah. Oh, I just want to see more of Devin. He was very attractive this episode.
Yeah, I feel like it's interesting because Ryan hasn't been getting as much screen time lately, at least not as much as he did in the earlier episodes.
Yeah, I feel like Ryan's screen time has gone down, whereas like Ben's screen time has gone up, and now he's being referred to as like the kings of the round table, and I'm like, this is so annoying.
Yeah, I just like I get annoyed when people make references to stuff when they only know like the very bare minimal details, because I feel like there's a lot more to the Knights of the Round Table than like they probably know.
Yeah. I don't know. Like yeah. It's just like, I don't know, very cringy. Like we've talked about episodes this season being sort of cringy and like not all that much gameplay, because I feel like a lot of the players this season are archetypes or like stereotypical people that we've seen in the past, and they're trying to play in the stereotypical way, like let's look for clues because we're on a reward challenge kind of thing. And it's like, I don't know, to a certain extent I feel like you need to think outside of the box.
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, this could just be because people seen a lot of Survivor, but I feel like this is kind of just a mishmash of a lot of other seasons where they like took an episode from one season and they all just kind of like blurred together. Like there's nothing new or interesting about this season except for maybe the advantages, and even that it's like advantages themselves aren't new. It's just the like wording of these specific advantages that are new.
Yeah, I feel like that's like basically why the season I feel like is a little bit lackluster, because like with the idol plays that we've seen this season, 2 out of the 3 have been misused so far. And like you can never like know like, oh, I should play it for myself versus when I should play it for someone else. But I feel like with more experienced players, like in Second Chance, when you see like Kelly Wentworth and Jeremy both play an idol, and like that was a great tribal council. Like things like that just make the show so much more interesting. And I feel like maybe it has to go with the casting this season, because I feel like, at least like Cole is someone who was picked to be on Survivor, who was like recruited or scouted or whatever terms you want to use. So like it's people like that who have not seen a lot of the Survivor episodes who are like brought onto the show because, they're attractive or like, oh, they're famous or popular or whatever. And like it sort of makes the gameplay like one level down versus where I feel like the show should be at, which, maybe, yeah, I guess like that's.
The thing is, I feel like if they're gonna bring like recruits, they should have an entire season of people who were recruited. That way, it's not like people like JP trying to play against people like Ryan and Chrissy who know the game back and front. Like, it would be cool to like have a bunch of people who have never seen Survivor before and then like try to come up with strategies and stuff of their own. But at the same time, that could also be really boring. So.
Yeah, season 1 all over again. Let's do some alphabetical voting because that works. But yeah, I don't know. I think like I was thinking of, like when you were talking about the advantages, I feel like the advantages this season, like the first 2 we've seen with like Ryan and with Jessica, they're only like a 1 episode advantage. So it really only makes like that 1 episode more interesting. So I guess with Lauren's advantage now, I feel like hoping, maybe it'll make an episode hopefully like more than just 1 episode more interesting, because you could be like, oh, Lauren might play it at next tribal when it's like an 8, so it could be not a 4-4 split kind of thing, and it'd be 5-4 kind of thing. Or like it's a more than like, oh, she's going to play this one because you have to use it by like a certain date. But then with that kind of advantage, I feel like if we see a shit ton of advantages like we've seen when Suri goes home because she doesn't have an advantage, rip, then it's sort of like bad.
Yeah. It's like, it's this balance, I feel like, and the solution isn't always more advantages. Like, I feel like the Survivor producers put a time limit on some of them because that way they could keep the same number of advantages and still like, and not have it be a situation where someone gets automatically voted out. But like, you could always just decrease the amount of advantages.
Survivor, hire us. We have good ideas. But yeah, I think like a little tangent aside, going back to this episode, we see Joe pushing Chrissy and Ashley's buttons, and I feel like kudos to Joe, like Alyssa said earlier. I think, like what Mike says during the episode, Joe is always looking for clues and idols. And, I think you just have to, like, reward someone for that. Like, even though he knows he's at the bottom, like, he might go home this time, he might go home, like, he might have gone home last time. His time's ticking. I think, it's good that he's always looking, and he's like, I'm doing this for my family. Like, I'm 24/7 in this game.
Yeah, I feel like it's interesting because, like, Ashley made the point, like, oh, there's still real people behind all of these decisions. And the thing is, I feel like Joe isn't ignoring the fact that, like, Ashley and Chrissy are people. I feel like in some ways they're ignoring the fact that he's a person because they don't, like, they go straight to being nasty with him. Like, they never even say, like, oh, Joe, could you please stop? They're all like, Joe, no one likes you. No one wants to listen to you. You're annoying. Like,
yeah, no, like, I wrote that in my notes. I'm like, SMH so hard. They're basically like, Joe, shut the F up. Like, blah, blah, blah. We don't want to talk to you. I don't want to be around you. And I'm like, okay, well, then, like, they're calling Joe the bully. But, like, he didn't even say any, like, personal attacks or anything. Like, I feel like calling someone a goat isn't a personal attack. I'm hoping Joe calling Ashley a goat opens her eyes up to, like, oh, maybe, like, I am being a goat. Maybe I should play more of this game and, like, make moves instead of being like, oh, when I go talk to the round table, I'm going to have some Socratic seminar. And I'm like, no, like, make some moves. You're so annoying. But, like, I don't know. I didn't think it crossed the line in any way, and I don't see how Chrissy and Ashley can be like, oh, Joe is bullying us, because I really don't think it crossed the line, and I don't see how they can say, like, oh, how can you say that to another human being when we've heard so much worse on Survivor? He's basically just calling you out for your gameplay. It wasn't like calling someone, like, names in their personal life.
yeah, it really annoys me too because no one was willing to think like, oh, maybe he actually has like legitimate like critiques of my gameplay. Like in some ways, like you want people to be criticizing you because that makes you like a better player. And like if you're never told when you're doing something wrong, you can't do it right. But I feel like Ashley was so upset by the fact that it was Joe telling her these things that she probably won't even realize that she is kind of a goat at this point in time.
No, yeah, like, I feel like when you're the person doing the actions, you're like, oh, like, I'm doing so well, like, I think I can win the game. Whereas from other people's point of view, like, no, like, obviously you can't, because, like, so many other people are doing so much more that, like, they would have an upper hand over you in, like, the final tribal council. And, like, I don't know, I think this scene was just very, like, I wanted to root for Joe. Like, it's just like they're teaming up, and it's like Chrissy was already been annoying in the past few episodes, and then Ashley won't take this, like, criticism, and then she's very gung-ho, I guess, on wanting to get Joe out, which is valid. I think, she has a lot of good insight, or, like, has a lot of good reasons. Like, Joe's, like, very strategic, always looking for idols kind of thing. And, like, I'm hoping this, like, conversation makes Ashley realize that she is being sort of a goat.
Yeah, I wanted to root for Joe in this also just because the round table, like, isn't being particularly creative in its strategy. Like, you're 7 people voting for one of 3. Wow, I've never seen this happen before.
And, like, can you people not see, like, 7 is a large number. Like, they were saying at tribal council, it's still, once you're down to 7, it's 4-3, and then it's all about who is in the majority, who has the better relationships. And when it is, like, heroes, hustlers left, and you don't have, like, these wild card, like, maybe swing votes of, like, Mike and of Joe left in the game, like, it's so much harder, I feel like, to get someone to flip. Because I feel like even though, like, oh, Mike and Chrissy are close, I feel like Mike and Chrissy are the kinds of people who want to win this game, who are only looking out for themselves, that they would 100% be willing to vote your ass out of the island if it helps you, even if you are, like, their bestest friend on the island. They will vote you out.
Yeah, it's kind of like when Game Changers came and Troy Dan was like, we'll deal with the 6 when we get to the 6. And it's like, if you're on the bottom of the 7, you're probably going to stay on the bottom of the 7. And it's like, would you rather be on the bottom of the 7 or flip now and maybe have a chance to get further?
Yeah, and be like a 2 or 3 out of a 4. So that's why I'm hoping next episode, I think this is what we've been saying sort of needs to happen, and we've seen it in the past as well, which is also like you can sort of predict what's going to happen, which is sort of annoying, but once like the minority sort of dwindles down to like a 2 or a 3, then they're more willing to like, oh, like their numbers are down so much, we can bring them into the majority and create a new majority. So hopefully.
Yeah. Mostly it's just like I don't want this season to keep following the status quo because like that's just boring.
Yeah, I don't know. I honestly feel like there are a few players in the game that have the potential to win the game, and obviously one person has to win at the end of the season, but I feel like personally there are not any contestants this season that I really want to win. Like there's no one I'm really rooting for. Every episode I'm just like, okay, you know, Cole went home this time, like cool. Like I don't like love Cole. I don't hate Cole. Oh, like Desi went home. Cool. Like it's not like my winner pick is someone like, oh, I really, 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 really want this person to win. I'm going to be devastated when they're voted out. Everyone is just sort of equal playing. Like, oh, Ryan gets voted out. No harm, no foul. That's great. Like, great. There's no one like, you know, I don't know.
Yeah, I would be more annoyed if certain people won than like having a winner pick. Like I have a not winner pick. So
yeah, I feel like we have more not winner picks or people like, oh, if JP won, I'd be angry, but then my life would move on the next day. It's not like in Brains Brown Beauty for Alyssa when Audrey lost that she was like dying. So it's like you need someone to root for, I feel like, and this season there's no one really you want to root for.
I didn't need you to bring that up, but thanks. Thanks
I'm
for
sorry.
crushing my heart.
I thought it was a good analogy.
I mean, yeah, but yeah, I feel like no matter who wins this season, I'm kind of just going to be like, meh.
Yeah, season 35, gone and past. Let's go to season 36. Hopefully there's someone like you want, like would live or die, winner, like if they won or if they lost.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, moving on, immunity challenge. It was a new challenge, super interesting. I'm glad sort of like that the challenges this season seem more like gender neutral, because I don't know, it's not like, oh, all physical, like let's swim, or like all mental, or like all like, you know, I don't know. I feel like it's more even this season, which is good. And I think in general, I was like, damn, I sort of wanted to see Cole to win again. This is his second challenge that he's lost all season. And I don't know. I just like wanted Cole to win so he could see something flip.
Yeah, I feel like, well, if Cole didn't win, then it would probably, or if Cole did win, it would probably just be like Mike or Joe, which is like, ooh, so scary. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. I feel like with the immunity challenge, yeah, like the season, they're just, even Chrissy said it this episode. They're like, oh, you know, typically standardized, whatever, we would vote Cole right now because he's a challenge beast. Joe next time because like he's annoying and strategic. And I'm like, if you're still going like that, the first 2 people on the jury are 2 people who won the first immunity challenge and then won the second immunity challenge. Like, so basically it seems like they're voting out people who are challenge threats. And that's typically what you see at the merge. They're like, okay, so-and-so because they'll win all the immunity challenges. Yeah, so we need to vote them out. So, you know, next is Lauren because she won a challenge. Time to vote her out.
Yeah, it's just like, it would be nice if they knew that sometimes playing by the book isn't what you need to do.
Yeah. But if you're in the majority, I'd be like, yeah, let's get down to like a closer to the 7 so then we can like start playing. So then we can like, you know, I feel like when you're not in the minority, you sort of are thinking about the future, but like you're safe, I guess, so you're not really like too antsy about things, which is sort of annoying because you hear Joe and you hear Mike say at this episode, like, nobody wants to make a move because everyone's just content with their 7 out of 10 right now. And, sure, but like 7 out of 10 is still, you could be 7 out of 7, and that's just one person in front of one of the 3 healers, which is not that much better. Anyone who is in final 3, final 2, or whatever is like the first loser.
Yeah, like, it's like in Survivor, it's better to take a chance that might end up with you, like, getting worse, but might also end up with you getting better than continuing down a path that you know is going to lead to, like, you coming in a not good place.
And I feel like, yeah, you're going to, like, one person wins the game, you have like a 1 in 18 shot, so might as well like do everything that you can. And if something like searching for the idol, like Joe was saying, I'm going to keep digging, blah blah blah, it might get me voted out. But like, okay, if the digging is something that got you to be voted out, like, you have to accept that. I feel like if you didn't do the digging, you might regret it because you might not have found an idol, you might not have done whatever. But I feel like you can change your own fate in so many ways on Survivor, and you just see so many people not wanting to make a move because they think like, oh, the timing's not right, oh, the blah blah blah. But like, only one person wins, like, might as well go balls to the wall rather than sit on your ass and then get voted out 7 out of 7.
One of the things I really like about Joe is that he's willing to accept responsibility for his actions, both positive and negative. Like, he knows when he's being annoying, I feel like. And it's like, he said multiple times, like, oh, I'm just going to keep pushing buttons. I'm going to keep pushing buttons. And it's like, a lot of people in Survivor will do this thing where, like, they'll be like, oh, yeah, I made that super great move. And then if they do something wrong or poorly, they'll try to, like, pawn it off on someone else. And it's like, I like that Joe is willing to take responsibility for both the good and the bad.
Yeah. And I feel like, yeah, I think, Joe's loyal too. He didn't vote for Desi last time, and we saw on Cole's Ponderosa, Cole and Desi were talking about last week's episode when Lauren didn't use her vote, and then like they were sort of thinking and like talking that through, like thinking like they were like, oh yeah, one vote wasn't read, and that was Lauren's vote, which she didn't cast. So obviously one vote wasn't read, and they were like sort of talking it over and stuff like that. And so I don't know. It's like, oh.
Yeah. I'm really interested to see how Lauren's storyline pans out because, like, I don't feel like she's winner material, but she's also not a GOAT anymore.
Yeah, that's what I feel like a lot of the players are this season. I think Chrissy, Ryan, Ben, Joe, I guess, are like potential winners of the season, but they all have so much like working against them. I think Chrissy is just too queen bee, too annoying. Ryan, just like too snaky, I feel like. Ben just like is becoming, yeah. And then Joe, people think he's annoying also. So like they all have so much working against them that you sort of have this like second tier of like, Lawrence and Devins and JP's and Ashley's of the game, which are sort of like there, sort of have some screen time, sort of have some input, but like not really much. But I think Lauren does have winner potential as well.
Yeah, I feel like everyone except for JP like could make it, maybe Ashley too. Everyone except JP and Ashley could make a good argument for why they should win the game.
Yeah, and I think, that's what we're saying. That's what makes it sort of interesting. But out of like the group that isn't JP and Ashley, there's no one who I would really want to win. They're all just sort of meh. It's like, I don't really care. Like, I'm not super invested in your story. I'm not super invested in your gameplay. Everyone's sort of like average.
Yeah, and the people who are calling like Chrissy, Queen Chrissy, I'm like, okay, but like, what has she actually done? Like, I kind of get it now that the round table metaphor is coming into play, but also like,
Yeah, so I think before Tribal Council, we see a lot from Ben and Chrissy and Ashley, which is good, I guess. But Ben wants to do a split vote, 4 Cole, 3 Mike with the 7. And I was surprised they chose Mike over Joe. Considering how close Ben is to Mike, I would figure that Ben would want to keep Mike around because Ben has been using Mike in like the past few votes to like swing the vote one way or like get a certain thing done.
Yeah, I feel like Mike is a lot more malleable with as far as like doing stuff. Like he's willing to like go against the grain, I feel like. And you kind of saw that with this episode where he was like trying to do something that wasn't expected, even though that kind of like didn't work. But
Yeah. I don't know. I think like, yeah, we see more of Ashley. When she mentioned, oh, like when I go talk to the round table, I will have my way. I will bring Joe's name up. And then I was sort of like, huh, some round table decision you have when Ben's the only one like having any input and then he shuts you down. And then, yeah, like with the whole Ben and Mike thing, Ben even tells Mike that it's going to be Cole going home. Like, even though you might not be able to trust it or whatever, it turns out that, like, it was Cole to have the majority of the split vote. And I guess also going back to the whole people not taking criticism, Chrissy even tells Ben that, oh, like, Ben, maybe you're steamrolling too much. People think you're being too bossy. And then Ben's like, no, I'm not. And I don't know. I feel like you need to listen to the people, especially people who are your close alliance members.
yeah, I feel like one of the things is no one in his alliance like seems to actually be like mad at Ben. Like I feel like Ashley's a little annoyed that they didn't vote out Joe, but she's not like, oh, Ben is sucky. So like I feel like it's not actually like that bad for her.
For Ben?
Or yeah, Ben. Whoops.
Yeah. I'm hoping people, maybe they'll realize that Ben is steamrolling. He is sort of like dictatorshipping it. And when you have like one or two people sort of power coupling in charge, I would say Ben and Chrissy are like the top 2 right now, with maybe like Lauren's in there with her advantage and being super close to Ben, and then Ryan's in there being super close with Chrissy. That's dangerous. I feel like if you bring one of those 2 to 4 people to the end, they have a great chance or good case to win the game. So hopefully we see one of them go home this next week.
Yeah, I'm really hopeful that this next week we'll actually see someone from the round table going home, preferably Chrissy or Ryan. But
Watch it be like JP go home. I'd be like, great. So we voted out the good people instead of JP, and then he goes home in a great tribal council.
You see, I feel like we'll be able to tell if JP is going home if he gets a confessional.
The episode before or the episode up. Then we know. Honestly, I hope JP makes Final 3 because I really don't want to waste 40 minutes of my life to watch JP go home.
Honestly, same. I wish that he had gone home like a while ago, just because like, yeah, he's a waste of space.
Such a waste of an episode and time. Like, you're like, today's going to be a great episode of Survivor. Reward challenge, so fun. Immunity challenge, so fun. JP gets a confessional. Looks like he's going home. Wasted my time. But yeah, I feel like when the numbers get down to it, why vote someone like JP out when you can goad him to the end? Like, there's literally no reason to vote JP out because he's not doing anything and he could give you a vote.
That's actually like, yeah. I feel like the only reason you'd want to not bring JP with you would be if you were like afraid that like he was like going to win over jury members, maybe. Like, I don't think that Joe would do this, but I feel like if Joe thought that JP would get more votes because he was nicer or whatever, he might bring JP to the end.
Yeah, and from even like what we've heard of like other people, they're like, JP never talks strategy. Like, I've never talked to JP about Survivor. He only talks about like his ideal first date, whichever that episode was. So, I don't know. I sort of wish at Tribal Council we saw Big Idol play. We've seen 2 misused idols so far, and Ryan has the last idol of the ones that have been found. So maybe another idol or advantage will be placed in a coming episode. So it was the Roundtable 7 versus the Healer 3, and I think kudos to Mike, I guess. He tries to be like rude or stir things up at Tribal Council to get the votes played on himself. And then, I don't know, I think it just must be so frustrating to the bottom 3 because the Magical 7 wants to wait until it's only 7 people to start playing the game, so no moves will be made. No moves will happen. And I think hopefully next time, you know, the healers will be brought into the fold finally, and we'll see something good happen.
Yes. We're going to hope and hope and hope. If you guys have any comments about this episode, including about like why people call Chrissy Queen Chrissy, please put them like in the comments below because I'm actually really curious about that and I'm afraid to ask anyone because sometimes people can get a little judgmental. So yeah, we'll be back next week with our review recap thingy majig of the double episode.
So exciting, double episode.
Yeah, we'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.